बंद कर दिए. So, a very good evening to everyone. And as we are back after a very long time. So, today we will be discussing the topic related to React Native. So, we will firstly understand what React Native is and where this particular topic of React Native is used and what type of framework is it. So, let's begin it. So, guys, we all know about React, and we might have used that too. And React is basically used to create websites so that we can create attractive UIs using that particular websites, like using React. Now, React Native is also like a is it is a framework or it is a more advanced version of React, where we can not only focus on websites but also we focus on making Android application or iOS applications. Now, many of us know that every website which is being created, some or the other way, the person will also create a app. Now, React Native is a framework which was developed by Meta, and this particular framework was eventually used to create Android applications in a much easier fashion. The reason of creating mobile application using React Native is that because React Native is a framework which is very easy to understand. Moreover, it is quite easy for the programmers to learn it. And moreover, if suppose if we want to create a mobile application, but we want that mobile application to run on different devices, then there are several types of various things that we need to use in order to create a mobile application, such as Android or such as Android Studio, etc. But Android Studio is having a very uh, a big storage, and many of the computers, or since we all are the beginners and we all use PCs, so React Native is one of the best option to create Android applications. So today we will be discussing about the documentation part that is related to the React Native, and it will be an introductory session that we will be doing so. So let's start with the introduction part. That is React Native. We'll read the firstly the introductory part of React Native. That is, many different kinds of people use React Native. For advanced iOS developers to React beginners to people getting started programming for the first time in their career. These docs are basically being used by to tell you about why React Native is being used by different programmers in nowadays. So now, what are exactly the prerequisites in React Native? Now, in React Native, if you are having a better understanding of JavaScript, then you can be a very good developer in a React Native framework, because React Native is just similar to React, which is also based on JavaScript. And similarly, React Native uses the same JavaScript code to generate the programs for mobile applications. So over here, there is an interactive example. That is, there is a code which is being given, that is hello world. The file name is hello world, and we can see that we have written a code which resembles the same way as we used to write code in JavaScript. As you can see that we have React import React from React. That is, we have imported React from the React, and thereon after you can see that there is a text and a view from React Native. Now, text and view in React Native. Text is basically the place where the text related to the content that we want to display in a web page or in the mobile application is being stored. Whereas view is a type of a uh, place where we will be storing the entire content of the web pages, like what will be the alignment of the text or etc. So the two essential components of React Native are text and view. And you can see that in this particular code, we have created a const your app function, and within that we are returning a text that is trying editing and it is having a style that is a flex of one, justify content is center, and the align item is center. And you can see that on the right hand side, the particular text try editing mean try editing me is being displayed on the center as it is being specified in the left hand side in the style bar. So this is how exactly the React Native codes looks like. Now, for the very essential component while working with the React Native is that React Native is very easy to use as compared to Android Studio, because in Android Studio you have need to have several um, information about programming languages like Java, Kotlin, and moreover, it creating mobile applications using uh, Android Studio is moreover more complicated. But the developers must note that React Native is a much easier framework, not only for the developer to understand, but also to works with. Now moving on to the core components and and the native components. Now, as we saw in the last particular page, that we saw actually two components that were text and a view. Similarly, React Native is having varieties of components within it, and which you can see and work along with this. So let's see the core components. So you can see that these are the core components, that is view, text, image, scroll view. And moreover, the view is having in case of an Android view, we will be using view group. iOS, that is UI view, or in web analog, a non-scrolling div is being used that we might have encountered while working with the React Native. Sorry, with React, where we use div for creating different sections. Similarly, in Android view, in case of a React Native, we use text view to display the content. Wherein in case of a iOS view, we use UI text view for displaying the content on our iOS devices. Whereas for web analog, we use a simple paragraph tag where the entire content is being displayed. Similar is with the image and the scroll view. Now, many of us might be thinking that okay, these are the components that allows us to display content by the developer. Now, then you might be thinking that now what will happen if a user wants to give an input using our particular application? So which tag we will be using? So you can see that that very last tag, which is that text input. This particular tag is being used in React Native to input the text or to ask the user to enter some text, and it is being displayed according to the program which the developer is creating. Similarly, for the Android view, it will be a edit text. For iOS view, it will be UI text field. And similarly, in web analog, where this is a very simple JavaScript way by which we allow the users to input some content on a particular web page, that is input type, that is text. Now, you can see that this is a page that is running on Expo. Now, before moving on to this particular thing, let me tell you what is it actually Expo is. Now, every mobile application, in order to run the program that we have created while using React Native, we want that particular entire source code to run on some particular platform. Now, over here in React Native, we are having an app that is a Expo Go. So in Expo Go, the entire content which we have created, it will be displayed and it will be running as soon as we are writing it. So once you write the code or use in your React Native frame using your React Native framework, the same effect of the code will be displayed on your mobile screen, and you can at the same point of time you can see what exactly how the web page or the mobile application page will look like on your phones, and this will help the user to get a better understanding of how exactly the page will be looking like. So you can see that there is another page that is being displayed over here, that is a hello world page, where we are trying to display some content that is having contents like some text, and within another view there is some more text, and there is an image that is being displayed that is of a cat. And similarly, you can see at the bottom there is a text input field where we are asking the users to enter the text on according to their requirement. So you can see that as soon as I click on that particular, you can type in me, the box is being displayed, and I can remove the content from over there, and I can write some content like, hi, how are you. So you can see that the content is being displayed over here that I have entered, that is, hi, how are you, and it is being displayed on the screen. So this is how exactly these core components that we discussed above work in React Native. Now moving on to the React fundamentals. Now React Native runs on React, that is a proper popular open source library for building user interfaces along with JavaScript. Now, in order to make the most of the React Native, it is helpful to understand React first, along with a better understanding of a JavaScript, because the core concepts that React Native use is based on React core components like components, JSX, props, and states. Now, we will be discussing more on these particular core concepts in the nearer future as well. But let's see that this particular page, that is a first component. So we all saw that in the previous slide as well. We saw that there were certain core components that were text, view, image, scroll view, and text input. Now these components help not only helped us to create our content, but also we dealt with these components, and it was being displayed onto our mobile application according to the developers requirement. Similarly, there are JSX components that is being displayed in a JSX component. Our React and our React Native uses JSX as syntax that lets you write elements inside JavaScript like text hello. Like suppose a JSX component is simply like, if I want, suppose in this example which is given over here, that we have created a function that is a cat, and we have provided there is a variable that is a name, and it is having some value that is suppose I'm changing this value ma to Mahi. Okay, so you can see that as soon as I change the const name Mahi, it is being displayed on the right hand side, that is, hello, I am Mahi. Now, can you tell me that how is this particular code, that is the name, that is Mahi, is being displayed? Now, this particular action, that is, as soon as I change the name from Maru to Mahi, the content that was being displayed on the right hand side has changed. It is because of the JSX component that we have used. That is, we have created that is the content that is, will hello I am, and there's a name that is specify that as soon as the name will be changed, the entire that particular content which is given within the name, it will be changed, and that is being reflected on this at the same particular time as I change the name from Maru to Mahi, and it is being reflected over there. So these were the two main components that main React fundamentals that we were using. Moreover, there are various more React fundamentals that we will be working while we will be going more on in depth with React Native. Now, let's see how can we handle the text inputs. Now, there are multiple ways by which we can handle text inputs. So similarly, you can see that text input is a core component that allows the users to enter text. Now it has an on-change text props that takes a function to be called every time the text changed, and on submit editing props that takes a function to be called when the text is submitted. Now let's see the code which is given over here. Now you can see that we have created a function that is pizza translator. Now you can see that in the translator, we can see that we have created a view that is having some text, and it is having a placeholder that is type here to translate. So we can see that using this, we will be handling the text input, that is it is having certain heights and paddings, and using that where the content will be displayed according to a requirement. So in we discussed about that using text input, we can enter the values that the user wants to enter according to his or her requirements. Suppose for example, you might have used a Android application, multiple Android applications you might have used, but whenever you first log in, it asks you for your usernames, password, etc. And after that, once you are logged in, the first content that is being displayed on the top of the Android application or the mobile application, whichever you are using, is that there's a your name is being displayed over there. Now, exactly that is how the text input works. That it takes the text that the user enters and it displays it according to the user's needs. So this was how we handle text input in React Native. Now we move on to the scroll view effect. Now, just like mobile applications, there are multiple scroll view ways to handle in React Native. Now, obviously, mobile applications can't be only of a single page. We need to provide a scroll view effect to it so that we can move from up and down according to the user requirement. So there is a special tag or a core component of in React Native, that is a scroll view, that is used to create a vertical scroll view effect in both images and text that the user is entered. So this is the code which you can see. That is, we have created a function that is app, and is having a scroll view which is having some text, and multiple logos are being rendered using the image tag. And you can see that in the right hand side, as I must open it in Android first. Oh, okay, so let me launch it. It's taking some time. Yeah. So you can see that this is how this content which is being written on the left hand side is being displayed on the screen of your mobile. And you can see that it is having all the contents related to the content which is being displayed. Now, so you can see that as soon as I scroll, the entire content is being scrolling upwards, and once I scroll it upward, the content will be moving downwards. So this is how we use scroll view effect, because scroll view effect is one of the core component that is being used in each and every React Native application that the developer is developing. So this is another core component that we are using. Then moving on to list views. Now, there are different sets of lists that we create in a React Native, and generally we will be working with only two, that is a flat list and a section list. So our flat list component displays a scrolling list of changing but similar structured data. A flat list work well for long list of data where the number of items might change over time. Unlike the more generic scroll view, the flat list only render elements that are currently showing on screen, not all the elements at once. So what happens that flat list, it is a type of a list which for displaying very long list of data, and the data that might change over a long period of time. That is, suppose if there is a very long list of data and we want that data to be displayed on the screen, then we use a flat list over there, because it is a better version of displaying the content using flat list, because it manages the content in a much easier fashion. So, and similarly, the section list is there. Section list is a type of a list where only a small section of data items will be displayed on the screen according to the user's requirement. So these are the two types of the list that we will be working with while moving on to the React Native components, and we will be discussing more on them when we will be doing the coding part related to React Native. Now let's move on to the another thing is that is platform specific code. Now, one of the most important thing is that the content which we are writing in React Native, it must be platform specific. Now, what exactly platform specific means? Since see, React, we are using React Native to create mobile application, and this particular framework of React Native is actually not used by many of the developers because it is currently a newer version. And moreover, if you are learning to develop mobile applications using React Native, then it is one of the best option for you to use React Native. And why it is being mentioned that platform specific code is being required. Now, the thing is that every Android application which we are creating is not according to the platform specific code. Now, there are various platforms that might be available in the near future, and so using Android Studio we focus on all those things. But in React Native we only try to focus on 3 4 platforms, that is a mobile, that is Android applications, iOS application, or a web. These are the main 3 core devices that we focus on while working with React Native. And so the content that we are creating while using React Native, it must be within the margin, so that the content which we have to display on these 3 modes must be displayed in a much easier fashion. And this is what platform specific code means. That is, we must not write any such code that might create any sort of disturbance in the displaying the content of any of the Android application or iOS or web application. So that is what platform specific code means. Now let's move on to the environment setup. Now, so see, what exactly you can see is that this particular code which is being displayed over here is for using Android Studio. And but the issue is that React Native is being used to create both Android and iOS application. But most probably our PCs, because we are using laptops, and most of the developers who are studying in colleges, they only use laptops for developing projects, etc. So it becomes very difficult for them to handle, and if they want to create an Android application, then it will be difficult for them to handle the Android Studio within their laptops. So we use React Native over there. So now over the code, that the entire content which is being given over there in this documentation part of environment setup is for the Android Studios. But simply if you want to create a application based on your device, then there is a website that is Expo Go. So once you click on it, it will dive into Expo. So this is the type. This is the place where which we will be using to create our Android applications. So it is having. Let's move on to its documentation part. So this particular command which is given in the terminal, that is npx create expo app @ latest. So this particular command which is being displayed, this is actually used to set up the Expo Go and create a Expo Go application, that is an Android application on your on your Android app, for your Android app, and we are using that particular thing. But the installing dependencies part related to this document which is being displayed in the website of React Native is that we have to install a JDK, that is most probably the Java development kit, that is Chocolatey, is being used over there. And after that, you can see that this is the particular code that is being given to install the chocolatey JDK in your systems. And after that, you need some various other types of SDKs for Android SDK for creating for downloading the Android Studio within your system. So moreover, this particular process of downloading the content is very large, and moreover the space is also very large, so it becomes difficult for your system to handle such a long process and the content of the Android Studio. So that is why Expo Go is being used over there. So this was all the part related to the environment setups. And see, this was what I was supposed to talk to you as an introductory part related to the React Native, and I've covered all the topics related to that. That is the basics of the React Native, since it was a beginning session for each one of us. So we have completely done that, and I've shown you that we will be using Expo Go. Now, before finishing, let me tell you that you can see that. In this particular page, SDK version is being provided. Now, if you might be using this particular, because we will be creating some projects related to that. So while working with this, many of us might encounter with the problem that is SDK version outdated while working with Expogo. So you must remember that SDK 52 is the latest version of Expogo. So we need to download that version in our mobile application, so that we can run our Android application within our mobile, so that we can work uh, in a smooth fashion. Similarly, the installation part of this Expo Go is being given over here, that you can see that install Expo Go on your device, that is for Android and for iOS both it is given. Now, eventually you can download the same from Google Play Store by searching Expogo, and it will be installed on your systems. The only thing which you need to do is that you need to install it, and later on in the next session when we will be working on related to the content of React Native, we will be writing some code, and thereon we will be using the Expogo. So well, this was all from my side for today, and we will be meeting next week with the coding part related to that. Thank you.
So yes, I have a question.
Yes, Rudansh.
React is based on JavaScript. So
Yeah,
in like whatever the site you share, in that
yeah.
you have like the site mentions that Java SE you have to install it, JDK you have to install. Then what is the use of JDK? It's the different languages.
Okay, so Rudransh, what exactly the thing was that the documentation part which was I was showing was related to the React Native official doc. And over there, the installation part that is being mentioned is based on Android Studio. But since Android Studio is very large application, and it is not appropriate for the user to use that for creating Android application. If you are working and trying to create the Android application using your personal laptops, because Android Studio is having certain sort of limitations, and your systems get slow. That is the reason why I mentioned while talking the content related to that website was that over there the environment setup was according to the Android Studio. The content later on, the in which that was the last part I was talking about Expogo. So there is only a single command, that is npx create react app at the rate latest. This particular command, when we will run it, it will create a folder that will be for us to write the program, and the content that is being displayed will be seen on a mobile application using Expogo. That was the application which I was showing it. So that environment setup which you actually asked me currently, is actually of no use to us, because that is based on Android Studio, and we are not going to use that because it is not specific and moreover appropriate for us to use that for in our particular laptops. That is the reason.
So more Android apps is built with the help of Android Studio or React Native, like Expo.
Currently, Rudransh, what the thing is that we use Android Studio to build Android applications, but since we are beginners, and most of the beginners do not actually have the better understanding of Java and Kotlin. So they face various sort of challenges while working with this. And since while in a college, we usually do web development, and we have a better understanding of JavaScript and React over there. So this React Native is having the similar structure as that of JavaScript and React. So that is the reason for beginners purpose we use React Native. But if you want to create a Android application that you want to run on every devices, you must use Android Studio over there. Because using this React Native, we specifically specify on three main devices, that is Android device, iOS device, and websites. We never focus on devices like tablets or various other devices that is having various width or height according to their screen sizes. So we not focus on that is on those three on other devices. We only focus on three devices, that is mobile, another one is your Android, sorry, the iOS devices like Apple phones, and the websites. So that is the reason why Android Studio is being used if you want to create an application for more devices.
So, what is the difference between web analogy, Android, and iOS?
See, web analogy is that the simple content that is being displayed on website is related to web analogy. That is a simple website which we usually work upon. iOS devices are the because iOS devices are the Apple devices, and they are having some different screen sizes. And for Android devices, the screen sizes are different. So in React Native, the core components are also different. Like the core components for iOS devices, they will be starting with a tag that is UI. And whereas in Android, there will be no such tag. There will be a simple tag that is text, view, or scroll view that we will be
Yes,
using.
yes.
And for web,
I
yeah,
want to know the exact difference between web and iOS and Android. Whatever you are telling me that the simple tags and the difference, we know the implementation have different, and the
yeah,
screen
yeah,
sizes are not basically the main difference between them. I think so because the screen size is very little portion. So can you consider this part? What is the difference between Android, iOS, and web when web analogy in the next session at the starting of your session in the next part
yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
be more helpful.
I'll do that. Okay,
You will take a 1 to 2 slides for that also. That will helpful.
okay, okay, sure. Okay,
Okay. So thank you.
thank you.